Well, hello. My name is Tony Hendricks. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV channel. We are a weekly public opinion show addressing national, international, and local issues. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but no one's, absolutely no one's, First Amendment right of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of these captions or events of this program without express written consent of, I guess, Larry and Curly today, are strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program and the participants. Dave is out on special assignment, so you have us today. Ready to go.
And I guess I'm up next. First of all, the sweatshirt. This will probably be the last time I wear it until next year. Shows Indiana University's football team as being the national champions. That means that 3 years in a row, the Big Ten has controlled the Big 18 in terms of the national championship. Really? Because 3 years ago it was Michigan. 2 years ago it was Michigan. Last year it was Ohio State. This year it's Indiana. So basically, the old Big Ten is really producing some excellent football teams in collegiate football.
And let's go to next year. They got a new quarterback at IU, huh?
Yeah, they got a new quarterback. They also got a new receiver, but if Charlie Becker comes back, they will have some really great receivers again.
Yes.
But we'll have to see. I mean, right now, if we're looking at sports, we're looking at pitchers and catchers report mid-February. So now we've got the baseball.
We're looking at Super Bowl.
What?
We're looking at Super Bowl.
Well, those two teams were not a big deal for me, so I've gone on to
baseball.
Baseball. But pitchers and catchers report mid-February, probably right around Valentine's Day or 15th or the 16th of February, and that will be the opening of spring training. But something I want to talk about, because I had to miss a couple of these as a result of my wife and I both having COVID. But we got the Paxlovid, which is what's recommended, but they want you to get it early, and it worked fine. We got rid of it. I got rid of it in about, it's a 30-pill package. You take 6 pills a day. I was rid of it halfway through, but I continued the regimen out to the end. Now, it took my wife all the way to the end to get rid of it. But once we got rid of it, we found that, and so did our doctors, that we didn't have COVID, but we did have the flu. Now, we went in having the flu, we came out having the flu. However, they never advertised Paxlovid as being good for the flu, but it really worked in terms of COVID. So I thought I'd start with that, and I know Tony has a number of things he wants to talk about. I think we've got to start also to talk about transit development districts. Big in Northwest Indiana being pushed very hard by a number of political areas. I've got at least 7 or 8 of those districts, one of which, well, first of all, one of which is Michigan City. And for those of you that have gone by the old South Shore Station, you notice that there is a small little coffee shop that's picked up on Franklin Street, just north of the what will be the apartment complex for the old South Shore Station. And I understand that there's going to be 220 apartments in that complex, so it should be pretty nice. I'm also told that apparently they have about 114 applicants, so they've still got quite a few to go to live in those apartments, but there are apparently 114 entities that are interested. But the Brew Box, which is the name of this little coffee shop on Franklin and 10th Street, been by there several times, going to have to go in and see how the food is, but they've had clientele there every time I've gone by. So.
You better go in. I hear they got some very good pastries and things in there that come out of a very good bakery out of Chicago. There's a little tip for you. Oh. You better go in there and check it out.
Oh, man. Pastries and me, oh my gosh, I love them. But they also have they know a little bit about this business because they have a current operation in Hammond. And it sounds like, from what I can understand, they're looking to add another one in Hammond. Apparently, Hammond is slated to have 2 different South Shore stations in their area. This would be their transit development district. So as a result of that, the Brew Box apparently would like to have 1 at each of the train stations. Now, these 2 train stations, one would be the old train station, the other one would be for the so-called Munster Dyer complex railroad station for the, what was
South Lake Corridor?
well, yeah, Southwest Corridor, but now renamed the Monon Corridor.
Monon Corridor.
So we do have a new name for that, and I'll turn it over to Tony from this part, but when he comes back to me, we'll talk about where some of those districts are. But I really want to talk about the Beverly Shores Pine potential district because of the request that they're going to have to put in to have sewers and water, and that's going to have to come from Michigan City. And we all know what happened with the Long Beach situation, where we went into all the development plans, and then they said, well, this is too costly, we can't do it. And so we're still in trouble over that one. So they're going to have better cost factors.
You always bring up good points. There are so much to that conversation. Now, the TOD, Transportation Oriented District, I have huge reservations. Now, things might have landed in our lap if, and this is a long if the Bears come to Hammond, this transit-oriented development district will bloom like everyone thinks it will. Because here we sit right on the rail, the double track in Hammond, and everyone between us and Hammond, and now even the potential over to South Bend. I think that is the savior of the double track and the transit-oriented. I say a big if because I still think the Bears are pitting Indiana against Illinois for their tax breaks and their money and their funding for the stadium, which is fine because I saw Mayor, the Hammond mayor, what's his name?
His father was mayor too.
I can't think of his name. He's doing a very good job because he is playing this to the hilt. He knows that even if the Bears don't come, Tom, I can't remember, if they don't come, they are still going to spend a lot of money in Northeast Indiana. They've hired an attorney downstate, a lobbyist. They have paid lobbyists downstate in the Capitol. The Capitol is passing a bill to support the Bears coming to Indiana somewhere. Maybe not Hammond or Gary, but both Gary, the Mayor Gary and the Mayor Hammond, are making sure they do whatever they can. So if it is come, then it's possible that we could, at a minimum, if it doesn't, they will spend millions of dollars. We've saw the consultants over there. We've saw them looking at areas for potential development, properties, ancillary entities, hotels, restaurants. Even if they don't come, they are going to spend, and I predict millions, because we're talking about billion-dollar facility. Yep. They will definitely spend millions in Indiana, in Hammond, or in Gary, or in Indianapolis, or maybe some in Michigan City, because they need to convince Illinois that they're coming here. So either way, Indiana wins, whether you're a Bears fan or not. But if for some, I think it's a 1% chance, if the Bears come to Northwest Indiana, that is the savior of transit-oriented development. Now, and the other thing you talked about was the coffee place. And what was that? An old
brew box.
The brew box. It was an old. What was it? It was an old.
Well, the article that I read about this made a slight
barber
mistake.
shop.
It was a barber shop, and then it was a diner.
Yeah, diner.
But
I remember the
wait
diner.
A minute, let me finish because there was a mistake in there, but it's very nebulous. They called it the M&M Diner. No, the M&M Diner was located on Michigan Boulevard. This was not the M&M Diner, but this is the one that is being fixed up.
But now we have something, and Bob brought it up, and I told you, inside the scoop, go there, they got great pastries because they're coming out of Chicago. Well, guess what we have? We have a double track, and we may see people that actually do deliveries on the South Shore for pastries at an event, or something that comes out of bakeries or entities we don't have that they have in Chicago, and they could deliver those within what? An hour. We could have fresh things coming out of Chicago into Michigan City.
But let me go to the opposite side of that. We could also get these bakeries that are going to make those pastries, and we could put them on the South Shore and deliver them other places cheaper than they could make them in Chicago.
We could manufacture it and go back. So the South Shore, I think, if it's going to work and make the money it needs, and I haven't seen their finances yet this year, but they're going to be out. The way they're going to save themselves and make money is become an all-around transportation. If that's half of a car delivering goods back and forth, that's money that they're not going to get. That they have the trains running, they have the available opportunity, and you don't have to wait for a delivery person that comes from Chicago down 94 and all the way around to us. and the train's going to take 1 hour. They load it on the train, they bring it over here, pastries, whatever other goods, you know, special fashion or whatever it is. They could add some revenue to their train, because trains, we all know, trains first started as not passenger.
Yeah.
They were commercial transportation. And I think this is something I'm glad you brought it up. We don't have the bakeries that we had anymore, and they have them in Chicago. And maybe we start bringing some of those over here in 1 hour every morning. The train, what's a train run? 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning?
Yeah, yeah.
They get here before everyone wakes up, get fresh pastries. And maybe people start realizing, hey, it's a great deal. Maybe we have some pastry making cookies places in town. Maybe they'll start making stuff and shipping it back.
Yeah, I like it going the other way. We'd like to get those bakeries and then have it going the other way, because I think we can do it cheaper here than they can do it in Chicago. But in terms of the South Shore and their ability to make money, I got a feeling where ultimately they're going to go is with club cars. In those club cars, we'll have slot machines, hold on to your thinking, and they will also have alcoholic beverages. So as a result of that, we will have a lot of Uber drivers that will be employed waiting for those trains to come in after they've had 3 or 4 drinks to get over what happened during the day, and the Uber drivers can take them home and pick them up the next morning. So
Yeah.
I'm predicting that there will be a lot of jobs for Uber drivers.
I'm not young enough either, but we're dating ourselves when we say slot machines. I think it's going to be Polymarket, where they bet on everything. The new thing is Polymarket. Even the Yahoo Finance division has a whole section on Polymarket, where you can bet on anything, whether the finance share raises or lowers rates. It is huge. If you ever look into Polymarket, now I don't condone betting in any way, because you could lose everything, but Polymarket runs on betting on anything, which when I went to Vegas, the very first time I went to Vegas, I thought, well, I go to the capital of wagering, I should be able to bet on anything. Now, you can go to this place in Vegas and they have bets on lots of different things. I thought, you should be able to bet whether 10 people are going to walk in the door next 10 minutes. And that's what Polymarket is. And it's gotten so vast, but it's mostly, I say we're too old, because it's mostly based on crypto coins and cryptocurrency. But Polymarket, I think, slot machines would be fine, but I think the younger crowd is going to definitely want to do Polymarket, and I could see that on a train.
Well, yeah, but I think you're going to find that it's going to be older adults that are going to be taking advantage of the club cars. The younger adults can still drive a car.
Well, I would say that, but the younger, and maybe you help me here, the youngest adults, when we're talking 25, 23 down, they don't really like to drive. Some of them don't even have a license.
Yeah,
they don't own cars. They are used to getting on the subway or the train. That's what they do. So yes, it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a crazy hyperbolic mix of some older people who adore trains, and younger people who don't know cars, and they don't want a car, and they don't want even a license. And you're going to see, it's going to be fun.
Well, I'm going to get Tony's thoughts on the transit development districts, but 2 of them specifically in this area. Number 1 is the situation where they are proposing one of these transit development districts for Beverly Shores, and that would include the Pines. Now, not Pine Township, the Pines, it's a little town out there, but putting in sewers and water, because first of all, the population isn't that significant in terms of numbers in Beverly Shores and the Pines, and it's a lot of area to cover to put in water and sewers. So to do that and to make this transit district work, they're going to have to be able to get water and sewer, and that's going to have to come from Michigan City. I know Tony's dying to give you his thoughts on that one, but now I'll give you another one, because they are proposing one of these transit development districts for Portage. And Portage is saying, we'd like to have this, and then we'd like to have a lodge for the Indiana Dunes National Park. Well, I went out to the very first meeting they had on this, and I think the lodge ought to be built here. It's closer. You could build it right very close to the Dunes situation, the Dunes National Park, in the Indiana Dunes National Park. I think it more properly belongs here, and it would be a real positive situation for us.
Yeah, the Beverly Shores Pines, a treasure of an area that A, environmentally we need to save, but B, we need sewer and water out there. Now, I'm going to pitch something that we've talked about, and many times. If we're going to get sewer and water to the Pines, right now Michigan City has sewer and water down to Wood Lawn, not Woodland, Wood Lawn and 12th. That subdivision there, Bartlett's Shore Acres in Michigan City, has sewer and water in it. Mayor Chuck Overly did that, but he extended it out there. If we're thinking about going to the Pines, which is even further west in Beverly Shores,
Well, I don't know that we're thinking about it. Some people above us are thinking about it.
yeah,
So
yeah, that they need, Michigan City would be wise to put a sewer treatment plant and water facility out there where we keep talking about, just west of Mount Baldy.
yeah,
Because that has an outlet, just like Trail Creek has, to Lake Michigan, which you treat water, you put it into an outlet, it's clean, it's drinkable, it's already been digested, that's what a sewer treatment plant does. But you also can grab water from Lake Michigan through the same corridor out to Lake Michigan, just like we do now over in Washington Park. If you put that treatment plant, and somehow Michigan City and Porter County work together, get that treatment plant in, we could piggyback off, because we want it to go east to what potentially would be the prison and all that development, instead of running all our facilities, which you said was the original treatment plant was over at the prison, the first one. We could run that whole corridor over to the west, that also the Pines and Beverly Shores need drastically, and then we have a growth area for Michigan City on the west side, which is, I think, Michigan City's greatest growth in the next 50 years.
Well, I would have to say one thing about that treatment plant at the prison. It was probably about the same thing that they had in Rome for 500 years, where you sat on a pot and it went down a slot and out into a sewer. We have gotten a lot more environmental.
Like Shawshank Redemption.
We've gotten a lot.
We actually got to treat it. But yeah, that is an area that Michigan City could partner with and get an area for a new treatment plant that potentially could be the future, as we know our treatment plant is landlocked and its expansion is limited. Not that we want to get rid of it, but we have to look to the future. And your future is west, right there at the brown ditch or the drain, and southwest, and I'm talking south of the landfill. At that, there's two areas Michigan City needs to look at to treat water, bring water, treat sewer, bring water to grow. That is the only way Michigan City is going to grow.
Well, actually, I think Michigan City is also going to grow east, coming out of Long Beach, Sheridan Beach, and those areas over there. And I think you're going to find that within the next 15 years, and that may be conservative, you're going to find us going all the way to the Michigan line. Now, is it going to be part of the Civil City? Are we going to bring it into the Civil City?
Well, you bring up the Civil City out there on the other side of Moore Road.
Yeah.
At Notre Dame Church is a new townhome development, right?
Yeah.
Inside ball, that person called me a couple years ago and he wanted to put apartments. We said, there's no way they're going to allow you to put apartments on that piece of ground. And you know what? We were right. I didn't do the project. I'm not involved in the project. So he put townhomes up. And great. I think fantastic. It's a great place to be. I think that's, I think that's where the mayor lives, actually, right out there. But they're selling these townhomes. These are townhomes and they're connected by party walls. I think they're like $595,000.
Yeah, they're in that neighborhood.
And I don't know, that's a lot of money. That's probably triple what my house costs. But when you think about it, people that live in Long Beach, that's a very good area. That's Moore Road. You're still in this Michigan City, Civil City. You get sewer and water. It's a pretty good area. The people that might sell their houses in Long Beach are going to be what, $1 million or $2 million?
Mm-hmm.
So if they sell their house and they want to move into a townhome, they could go in for $595,000, and they still got money left when they sold their house in Long Beach. And other younger couples hopefully get to move into these family homes in Long Beach. So maybe it works. I don't know. I think it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a townhome.
Well, yeah, but the other thing for elderly adults is you're probably going to have a homeowners association that will take care of the external parts of that. So they'll keep the lawns.
You hit it on the head, because that's where townhomes are great, right?
Yeah.
You don't take care of it. But these townhomes have a second floor. And a lot of people get that old.
You put in an elevator, you see them advertised on TV.
Yeah, you've got to put an elevator in. So, townhomes, I think townhomes that are ranches are great.
A couple friends of ours that live in Long Beach, they've, they're up on top of a dune. They loved it for 50 years. they've now decided they want to stay in their house. They're putting in an elevator.
But an elevator, you could do that. But if you're in for $600,000 right out the gate, elevator is kind of expensive. But you could. I thought maybe they call them garden townhomes, right? Ranches. They're on one floor. Those are great. On a slab, easy access, handicap access for the elderly. We all are going to get old.
Out along Wellness Road. And
yeah, we're all going to get old, and we need that. But to dovetail on that, in the article, the Economic Development Corporation of Michigan City, Clarence Hulse, said that he sees 2,000 new residential units in Michigan City in the near future. And I thought, that's great for Michigan City. I don't know where we're going to get people that can afford 2,000 new residential units from, let's say, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. I hope we find those people, because those people are well off and good people.
well, they will pay decent taxes, and that would be helpful to the civil city and the school city.
I hope we steal them out of Illinois, because their taxes are horrendous, and people are welcome to come here, and they probably think $500,000 is nothing for a new home. That's probably a good deal for them. And they got low taxes, what, 1%? They probably love it.
Yeah.
So 2,000 new units in Michigan City, I think his numbers are right. That's just a lot. That's a lot of homes. So say you have 2 people for each place, that's 4,000 people. Say it's a family of 4, that's 8,000 people. And Michigan City's trying to grow. Are we going to get 4,000 to 8,000 new residents in Michigan City?
Well, the school city is probably not going to like this, but I do. I think you're going to get more towards the elderly people whose kids are very close to are out of the school system. Now, the great part about getting those people to come in here is, first of all, they pay the normal tax rate, will go to the school system. If they may have 1 or 2 of their last children in the school system, but they'll soon be out of it, so we don't have to build additional schools. We don't have to hire more teachers,
No.
and we have a bigger income.
No.
So I tend to like that idea a little bit.
2,000 is 4,000. That's 4,000 new people that grows Michigan City. That's tax revenue. That's people that spend money, and those are the people that have discretionary income.
Yeah.
So those people fit right in.
They'll be in the restaurants all the time because the wives don't want to cook. I can tell you that now.
or the Uber or DoorDash or whatever it is. So I think the Pines Beverly Shores transportation-oriented district, if Michigan City gets on board quickly and tries to work a deal on the west side of Michigan City, the east side of Porter County, get a sewer treatment plant and a water plant over there, they can dovetail onto us, and we get a bonus.
I got to talk a little bit about Tony's enthusiasm, though, because the cost of this is going to be very, very significant. Again, you don't have that big of a population over there to utilize these services, and as a result of that, the per unit cost could be pretty high, which means that we're going to have to get grants, big-time grants from places like the Lilly Foundation and a number of others in order to be able to afford this. We do not want to happen what happened with Long Beach.
I think the whole corridor between the east Porter County line, the west side of Michigan City, going west towards the Pines, everything north and south of 12 used to be like a quasi-industrial commercial area that's really kind of blighted, and it wouldn't take much to put lots of residences in that corridor. Not much at all.
You're going to have that if you're going to do that.
And that would pay for, and that would actually anchor us to Michigan City, that the outlet ditch, the brown ditch, the black ditch, all the way to the Pines, which we're going to, the shortest highway in the United States.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about the one between
the little cutoff.
212 and 12.
Yeah, that little cutoff. And that's the stretch that Michigan City and Porter County would also like to enjoy, and the Pines would like to enjoy that extra revenue. Because that corridor, and Highway 20, you drive down Highway 20, that corridor needs to be fixed, and Highway 12 is kind of narrow, but it's ready. And if it had sewer and water, it would grow, and that tax revenue would grow.
I'm going to bring up a subject, and I'm not sure if Tony's going to want to talk much about it, because it's not yet, it hasn't been real applicable to us. But for those of you that have been following the national news, you know about the situation in Minnesota. Now, I happen to be somebody who thinks that the ICE people, the ones that are in there to get the real troublemakers, the people that have had been to court, been convicted, or are ready to go to court, in terms of having committed a felony, and in many cases they're serious felonies, and ICE is doing a job to try to get these people outside the United States. They got in here when we went through 4 years of Biden, and the individual that was head of the border and just opened it up and let anybody come in. And unfortunately, maybe it's only 5% of the population that came in, but that's a very dangerous 5% of the population. We got to get those people out of here. So far, Indiana has been very good about cooperating with ICE, and what ICE asks for is what's called a detainer. So if we arrest one of these people, put them in our jail, they will give us a detainer so that when this individual is released, then ICE can pick them up and either deport them or take them to court on a federal offense that has not yet been charged. I think ICE and the people that work for ICE are getting a bad name by the press, and it is very much undeserved. They do a job with very difficult people to work with. Now, the part of this that really has become, let's say, controversial is this. If they catch you with, even though the only thing that you have done is violate a federal law coming across the border illegally, but you haven't done any other felonies, they don't particularly look for you. But if they catch you with one of these individuals, they're going to deport you too. So the key is for these people to understand that they cannot be surrounded by or in any way involved with these people. That may not be fair to them, but if you're caught with one of these individuals that has a serious felony and they're trying to deport, you're going to go right along with them. And so as a result of that, there's been a lot of skirmishes in Minnesota. But I happen to think that the people that work for ICE have done a heck of a job. And they've certainly done a heck of a job in other areas of the country, including Indiana, in getting the bad, venomous people out of here.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because the ICE people are doing a thankless, horrible job. And you're right. And this is very bad what's happening. Indiana and other states are accepting the detainers. So they know who they're looking for, whether they're convicted felons of very bad things in America or from where they came from. They know who these people are. And if they get picked up at the county police or the city police or the municipal police, they have a detainer and say, we'll come get them. Mm-hmm. We'll come get them. But some people, some municipalities and states are letting them go, sometimes purposely, sometimes not, and then they go hide. And I think what's really bad here is they're using other people with them as shields. And then they're creating this whole problem about, well, they broke into my house, or they had a warrant or not, and they took these criminals and the people that were with them, because they know that they could create all this consternation and havoc by having other people around them, and they're really the bad people. Yeah. So you don't see this in Indiana or other states that have a cooperation, because they know who the really bad people are, and they're going to go pick them up from the jail, not into somebody's home where there might be other people who have crossed illegal, and that is a federal offense. And now they're wrapping them up too, and the kids that might be with them, which creates a horrible situation. If they would cooperate and let the really bad people that came over here, who are criminals in the worst degree, right when they pick them up and the police have them, they could easily take them and remove them from the country. But they're not. They are letting them, again, like we see in war-torn countries, they're using innocent people as shields, and we can't. That should never happen, ever.
Yeah, and I do not want to see anything like this come to Indiana.
Oh no,
this has got to be stopped where it's at, and I think we've got to give a lot more emphasis to the work that the Border Patrol and ICE do in keeping the illegals out of this country. Just to give you some examples of how this has changed to the positive. For 4 years in a row under President Biden, we lost 100,000 people dead from fentanyl overdoses. These were individuals between the ages of 18 and 34. Their death certificates say fentanyl was the cause of their death, because we had these open borders, and we had drug dealers coming across, pushing these things and getting people in a very significant age group, 18 to 34, first of all, habituated to these drugs, and finally they just die from them, or they get an overdose starting out because they don't know what it is and they haven't been taking illegal drugs. And so as a result of that, they wind up dead, and we wind up with parents that are really very upset, feel very badly about what happened to their kids, and it's very hard to stop this type of thing when one kid says to another one, oh, you got a headache, try this, and they wind up in really serious situations. Because President Trump was able to close the border, and because we have cracked down on drug dealers, this fentanyl situation is down to, we're not losing probably more than 5,000 or 10,000 a year. They've knocked a heck of a lot of that out. And this is a real positive for us, I think.
Yeah, it's sad. The whole thing is sad. I want to shift gears.
I'm sorry?
I want to shift gears. I watched a little piece of, I think the PNW politicians had a day out. And Michigan City says they have, I believe they said they had $350,000 to study the revitalization of Michigan Boulevard. We can go a little bit back and enjoy the history and the good times of Michigan Boulevard. Banks, bakeries, grocery stores, Dairy Queen,
ice cream parlors.
Ice cream. Michigan Boulevard was the place to be. Even, if you remember correctly, even Michigan Boulevard back in the day had concrete medians. But somehow, we thought it was a good idea to spend millions of dollars to block even more of Michigan Boulevard, which were the planters and the bike trails and the curb and the landscaping. And now we're wondering why we need to spend $350,000 to study how we can revitalize the boulevard. We talk about this pretty simple. Just look at Franklin Street. Pretty simple. I'm sorry we spent the money on the planters. Remove them. Put a center turn lane in. Maybe you even remove one lane each way, a center turn lane, one lane each way, and parking on each side of the road so the businesses can flourish with customers who want to come to their business, because they could take a left instead of trying to take a left somewhere and circling back. I did, my assignment was a surveyors convention in Indianapolis. It was in Noblesville, and it blew me away that the town, this isn't in Noblesville, it's out there by 69. It blew me away that they did a whole redevelopment, a brand new development from scratch. I'm sure it was a farm field when they started. And what they did was they tried to recreate a downtown. The downtown we have everywhere. Downtown City of the Port, downtown Michigan City, Franklin, Uptown Arts. They tried to recreate that brand new, just like we have, with parking and two ways and planters and front streets with offices, but in behind they had parking. I went down to look for a pizza place. I drove past, pulled back around and parked in the rear. Why are we making places that have redevelopment when we have towns that are already ready for this? Uptown Arts already looks like that. A two-way street with storefronts on each side and parking in the back. We have people trying to recreate that, and here we are wondering why the boulevard, which used to be great, 60s, 70s, oh, it was hopping. Boulevard was the place you wanted to be. And instead, we doubled down. We put planters in the way. We widened the landscape. And I bet you I've seen 5 people biking in that bike lane since they put that in, when I drive up and down the boulevard. And it's not, I wouldn't ride my bike in that.
I was going to say, one of the reasons is it's pretty dangerous.
I wouldn't ride my bike in that bike lane. Do you want to ride your bike right next to somebody doing 35, 40, 50 mile an hour? I wouldn't ride. I'd rather be on the sidewalk. And I've seen people on the sidewalk, and you're not supposed to have your bike on the sidewalk, but it's far more safer than right next to a side view mirror going 40 mile an hour down the boulevard. Just doesn't work. I mean, I saw one, this week I went to Valparaiso. They had a little side street in town, just north of downtown, and they narrowed it down to parking, a drive lane, a bike lane, and more parking. And again, the parking goes right by, it's a small residential street, but I wouldn't ride my bike, I'd ride on the sidewalk. But then the bicycle lane dead-ended into another block, and that was it. Well, how good was that? So $250,000 to study the redevelopment of Michigan Boulevard, I think we can do it cheaper.
Well, let me throw something out with Michigan Boulevard, because I think this is probably the biggest positive we could have. And that's the Sprague Marina that's down there. If you look at the number of boats that are in that marina, we got to find a place, and I think we're going to either have to add on to our marina that is north of the Washington Street Bridge, now it's the Harriet Colfax Bridge, used to be the George Washington Bridge, so that it doesn't have to open and close when these boats come through. A lot of them just have their radio antennas up. It would be nice if they put them down, but if they don't, we got to open the bridge, and that bridge is a historic bridge. It is not a technologically developed bridge, so it has real problems. We need to get additions either to the marina that's in Washington Park, or the state could think about building a marina in the Indiana Dunes State Park. We can take those boats out there, because we certainly want them, the people around here to help us out, and put a Cabela's in that slot.
I pitched the idea to widen out the Brown Ditch and into another marina over there at the old Pullman factory, and they could all be there. And we could store them there. I guess it's too futuristic. It's looking too far down the road. I don't.
Well, a Cabela's in that area would really bring in a lot of traffic, and it would be a head business for a lot of small businesses to come in.
Yeah, we would anchor them with a lot of other people. And again, that side, the west side of Michigan City, the east side of Porter County, is a huge growth potential, but you got to plan now.
What I should tell the audience, because many people might not realize this, Cabela's is basically a Pro Bass shop. Pro Bass Shops. It's owned by Pro Bass Shops. It is basically the same thing. Maybe a little higher level in terms of the clothing that they sell, but pretty much the same thing.
So there you go. Michigan City is going to look at the boulevard. I think that's an easy, I don't know why we would pay $350,000. That's an easy. We can figure this out. We have to be very honest with ourselves, and we have to get rid of the planners. Put a turn lane in, put parking in, let the businesses flourish. The business will come. I worked on, I can't say the franchise, at the old Michigan Boulevard area right there at, what was that, where Perry's Bakery and the bank was, K&M, and I haven't seen them come yet. I thought it would be great to add them to Michigan City, but they have good access there, inside and outside of that, but you still, I remember the days when you'd come into town, and if you wanted to go to K&M, you couldn't take a left unless you left at that light. You couldn't take a left into their entrance, because they had it blocked off. I don't think any business, and I know it doesn't help them any, by blocking a left turn into their business. Who's going to circle back? I just told you I had to circle back in Noblesville to go back and park in the back. Because there's no parking in front.
What would happen is people would do what's called a U-ing. They'd go down a block.
And if I remember correctly,
that probably was
there were signs on the boulevard that said no U-turns.
They did it anyway.
But no one wants to do that. If you had a left turn lane, and we know how it works, and we're all frustrated. Franklin Street has a left turn lane. It's very busy.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, though, they're kind of dangerous. And I agree with this. The city planner wanted to start cutting off some of those entrances south of 20 because it's dangerous. There's too much. But no left turn lane and putting a barrier in, that barrier might as well just have a screaming sign that tells businesses you will get less business and less profits, and maybe you don't want to come here. So the boulevard's easy. I think it's easy solution, very hard to do. Who's going to admit we got to tear out a bunch of planners that we spent money on, a lot of money?
If Tony wants to go along with this, I'll change a little bit. I understand that there has been some demonstrations at NIPSCO about the high cost of utilities. I know there's a couple of bills potentially going to come up, at least in the state Senate, about allowing businesses and sometimes individuals to go with another electricity provider. Now, this does not involve gas. This only involves electricity.
Or themselves.
I'm sorry?
Or themselves.
Yeah.
Or data center.
Yeah.
Or another government entity. So there's discussion about this power problem we have in America.
Well,
and we have districts that we buy our power from.
Yeah.
We can buy our gas from anyone else, and it goes down the pipeline. You can buy different gas, but you can't buy your electric from somebody else. You're stuck with whoever you got. So the bill I saw was that if another person is producing power, another entity is producing power, you could potentially buy it from them. And I want to say, if you look at government entities, especially armed forces, they have bases that they need to be self-reliant and resilient. And the people also live off the base, so they want those people to have power too. So they're looking at things like mini nuclear reactors to power their bases. But the mini nuclear reactor can make so much power that they have extra, and they would like to sell it to other people. Data centers, same thing. They have some sort of power generation, whatever it be, solar, nuclear reactor, wind, whatever, that they produce more than they need. They would like the opportunity to sell that to other people who would like to buy it at whatever rate. And that's a good little bill.
Yeah, the other half of that, though, is on these databases that use so much power that an electric utility has to build a facility just to handle their situation, where you get a lot of costs then going on to individuals as part of their energy bill for the utility to recover its cost. And the big problem would be if one of these places goes bankrupt. And as a result of that, would have to, the electric utility would have to spread their costs out among a lot of individuals.
You bring up a good point, because we looked at Texas when they had a cold snap and their windmills stopped. And they have the same problem. They might have really low electricity normally, but when something drastic happens or someone leaves a power source, the bills just skyrocket. It goes parabolic for a period of time, and people get real upset. When I have solar in my house, and when you put solar in, they give you a chart of where they think electric rates will be. Typically, I think it's 8 to 10% increase every year, and that way you would pay off your infrastructure costs for your solar power. We're now seeing electric rates double, sometimes 2.5 times, and that's why they had these people protesting, because I don't know how you can afford a bill from $300 or $400 to $900, $1,000, $1,200 a month. I don't know what you do, but the legislature is looking at every possible scenario, including changing the way they license power providers, or changing the way that you're allowed to buy power from anyone. It could be from somebody like me. If I had 30 panels and I produce more power, I could choose to sell that to my neighbor at whatever cost I thought, and I would have to pay NIPSCO the line charge to get it to them.
What he's talking about is the transmission.
Transmission charge, because they have to, their wire going through their wires. But we need that opportunity. I've always said that you use every tool in the toolbox for everything you do, especially for power and utilities. Solar, windmills, nuclear, gas, coal. You're not going to have a silver bullet that does everything. And one is not going to be able to be resilient for everything. So if you have everything, you'll work your way through it.
Well, the reason I like it, not being an engineer and familiar with all of the situations that go into this, is we have 2 major suppliers of electricity in the state of Indiana, both of them very close to LaPorte County. In fact, one of them partially services LaPorte County. That would be AEP, with a major nuclear facility in Bridgman, but the other one is Duke Energy, which is just south of here by about 40, 50 miles, maybe less than that. They have 2 major that I know of nuclear facilities, and I think they actually have more than that, but I know they have 2 of them, capable of supplying probably half the country if they really had to.
We also
have the transmission lines in place to get that power up here or close by. So adding the new transmission lines shouldn't be all that expensive. And likewise, even less expensive would be adding transmission lines for AEP.
And we also have REMC.
Yeah.
And they are a very well-run organization. They're very thrifty. They were like I&M, which got bought out by AEP. But I want to bring up REMC, which is just south of LaPorte County. You're talking Stark, Pulaski, Jasper County. They
rural electrification.
Rural electrification. They were back in the days. They maintained their rural electrification company. And they have, I think the plan down there was 13 square miles of solar. Again, they are producing power that I think the legislature is trying to give us the opportunity, or anyone the opportunity, to be able to buy it from them through the transmission lines that NIPSCO owns. And maybe that, I think, that produces competition, which typically lowers prices, but also could potentially, like just in Texas, it could be a detriment too. It's a dangerous balancing act. on how, because a utility company, and we're not talking about electric, gas, electric, water department, sanitary department, they have to buy their license. When they get their license, they have to prove they can handle their customer base plus an extra percentage. So we pay for that. We pay that NIPSCO and the water department and the sanitary district have an amount that they service plus an extra in case they have an event happen and they need to provide with 50% more water, or they need to handle 50% more sanitary sewer, or NIPSCO hits a 110-degree day for a month and they got to provide double the amount of power. They got to have the capacity to do that, and that is their license, and they're arguing that downstate, says, wait a minute, if I can buy it from this person over here, they don't have the same rules that I have, because they just sell whatever surplus they have. They're not the primary provider. I can sell what I have, but I also have to produce 50% more capacity and be ready if something happens, and that's not really fair. I get that.
Well, the other situation that I'm concerned about is we have, with NIPSCO, a higher electrical charge across the board for both commercial, for industrial, and for individuals. And some of that probably is hurting our ability to bring in manufacturing concerns. And if we could get under AEP and with the charges that they have, I think that would be a real positive for us in terms of the electrical charges that a manufacturing situation is incurring now and would incur in the future. So I happen to be a fan of that as a result of, I think it will help us in our industrial recruitment, because we've got to have more manufacturing jobs.
Yeah, I think what NIPSCO and every utility company is arguing for right now is if the state would like to go to this new different kind of system that you could buy power from other people, that they get to extract that off their required capacity. So they don't have to upsize their plants. So if they say we have 50 megawatts of customers, and now this person's going to supply 25 megawatts, I have 50 megawatts that I have to actually have the capacity for 100 megawatts. Since this person's providing 25 megawatts, I only have to provide 75 megawatts of capacity, and I don't have to keep building out and growing my capacity because these people are promised their amount of electricity, and maybe they're going to try to level the playing field that way. But it's going to happen in the lobby. The lobbyists are going to do what they need to do on every side of this utility function. And I just, again, it's not gas and electric only. Gas, electric, water, sanitary, or any utility that provides power has to provide extra capacity for the overage. And that costs money. And that's the crux of the data plans. That's also the crux of solar that produces power, because they produce power, data centers use power. I don't think anything will happen now. They'll set up a committee, they'll discuss it. Maybe next legislative session. Maybe. It's got pros and cons. But we need it.
The last time we met, Tony brought up I brought up the idea of a fishing pier. Tony looked at it from the aspect of the sand that is being brought down here from the northern part of Michigan and its effect on Trail Creek and other areas. I like the idea of that fishing pier because I think it would be a real positive if it came out of Dune State Park.
Because we want to go fishing.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would also, if we set it up right and put in reefs, now the challenge would be there that the wave actions in terms of those reefs, they'd have to be really settled in there. But I think you'd find that they would acquire a major couple of fish components that we now have small size populations of, but I think the populations would increase significantly. That would be brown trout, smallmouth bass, and walleyes. And I think that would be a real positive.
It would become a fish haven for them. It would be north of the outlet of the Brown Ditch. I don't remember what it is, Kinsel Ditch. But we'd have to be a little deeper, probably like the same distance as a government pier.
I think you mean Black Ditch.
The Black Ditch. So that would be the same distance, the reef out there by like the government pier out north of Mount Baldy, which would be fantastic for everything. It just fixes everything, and I want to go, since it's not summertime, but boy, I wish it was. We've had one heck of a hard, cold winter, which the Farmers Almanac said we were going to have. A really cold winter.
You know,
we've had it.
We've had this before.
Oh, before. We just got spoiled.
Yeah.
But I want to pitch again because this is the time you do the planning. I forget what, there's a town over just west of us that did it. Can we put like an inflatable water park out in front of Washington Park for the kids to play in? They have one out west of us. What is it? I forget what town it is. Not Hobart. They have it out in there, and they charge. It's a corporation. Could we do something that for us in Washington Park? We have this beautiful lake, and if we could do the reef or the pier out here in Mount Baldy, we could do one of those too. That attracts people to come here instead of just sitting on the beach or the boats anchoring out there. It gives them a water park that comes and goes. And when the days are nice, you drag it out there and you have a water park and a water slide and some fountains, and it's kind of fun. So there's my pitch for the summer, because I know you don't do it now, you're not going to do it in June. Time's already gone. You got to do the planning now to get this in. There's some permitting, so some DNR permitting. They already know how to do it. There's my plea. Can we put something out there in front of Washington Park?
Well, if you go up to St. Joe, Michigan, you will find that they have a water park somewhat similar to the one that we had that wasn't making any money, so the park department got rid of it.
Yeah.
But the reason they were able to afford it at what we called Silver Beach, it used to be in St. Joe, Michigan, the term for the beach was Silver Beach. They got it donated. Maybe Whirlpool Corporation donated it for them. Maybe we could find somebody that would donate.
Again, looking to the future with the speedboat show, we have the big canopy set up in Washington Park, and now's the time. And Terry Greetham's awesome, the city events planner. We need to start selling corporate on that big canopy that we're going to put at Washington Park up on the pier. It should. Why leave a big white slate? I'm sure Pepsi, Coca-Cola, any corporation in town would buy the rights to put a sign on top of that thing, and it would pay for itself. Same with a floating water park. I'm sure a corporation would pay you to show that, you know, Coca-Cola or Pepsi or name any major corporation would chip in to pay for it, and we would have it.
Yeah.
But we have. That's something. That's why I'm asking. This is February, but if you don't do it now, you're not going to have it in June.
Well, it's going to take probably more than a year to plan for something like that. But you get the people signed.
Not for the tent at the boat show.
You think they got it ready to go?
I'm sure that tent's sitting there, and I'm sure a corporation would sell you, would pay you to put their name on the top of that tent. It doesn't take much to print that on top of a tent. I mean, the technology we have is really amazing. They run that vinyl tent through a printer, and they can print whatever you want on it. It doesn't have to be white. It's blank. It could have something on it, and we can make some more money in the city of Michigan, and they could take that to the park department and do something with it. I don't care, the zoo, whatever they do. But it's hard to say, it's easy for us to say and hard to do, that Michigan City, because they don't have the people. I mean, Terry Greetham, the events planner, pretty much a one-man show. He works very hard. Our city inspectors, our building department, there are very few people. They have time just to barely keep up with what they're doing. So if that's what it takes, I don't know, maybe hire somebody and have them do it, and they get a cost. I mean, they get a cut of it. They sell sponsorships for the whole tent on Washington Park. They get to keep 10%. I don't know.
Another thought in terms of what we could do for Michigan City in terms of the summer. And I would like to see us go after one of these PGA championship rounds. Now, to me, what we could do is look at Long Beach, and we could look at Potawatomi Country Club to see which one would be the best to handle something like that. But I would start out small with a ladies PGA tour. And
probably a collegiate women's tour.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of college girls.
Yes,
that were in that. I think that would be good publicity. You'd get corporations interested, and as a result of that, it would put Michigan City on the map in terms of a golf course, and hopefully in the future we could expand on that, but I think we ought to take a look at that starting out.
I say collegiate because we don't have enough time, but we talk about this before the show. Collegiate sports is not at all what it was. When these students are making $2, $3, $5 million in collegiate sports, they're not student athletes anymore. And they're second-year grad students. That one quarterback, forget where he's from, said he takes one course.
Benson.
And he doesn't even show up for it. Really. And then we see in the NCAA basketball, pro players who'd like to come back to NCAA basketball because they're probably not the best pros. They're not making the most money. They can make far more money in name, image, likeness in collegiate sports, because we all know collegiate sports where the money is right now.
Yeah.
And that's where, and God bless the students. They're smart. They're taking this money because they probably know they're not going to be pros. And if they're in pros, they're not going to be pros very long, and they're going to have a lot of money tied up. If they can make $2, $3, $5 million in college, have at it. I mean,
Well, the
university was making it.
The one thing that would keep them from being there forever is they only have so many years of eligibility. So, and I'm not sure if it's 4 or 6, but they only have X amount of years of eligibility.
And I agree. Their eligibility should be undergraduate only. I don't care if it's 4, 5, or 6. Undergraduate. You cannot be a second-year graduate student and be in collegiate sports. Sorry. I know that'll never happen. There's too much money for the universities. There's too much money for the NCAA to ever close that down. I think there's a chance because now you got pro players want to come back in college basketball. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. That, wait a minute, are these really collegiate players anymore? They're earning $5 million. They're second-year grad students. They're not going to class. These are pros.
But if you're going to do that, I would still like to see it at 4 years. And the reason why is somebody gets injured. So they make all their grades. They got their diploma, but they only played for 3 years, or maybe because of injury, 2 years. They should get to play the extra year or 2.
I don't agree.
No, okay.
If it's 5 years, it's 5 years. And if you get hurt, no fun. But you're not undergraduate anymore. It should be undergraduate only. If you want to go for another undergraduate degree, a second degree, another 4 more years, you get 2 more years of eligibility, fine. But not a graduate. Not a graduate student. It's ruined collegiate sports. We'll find out in the next 3 years. So we only got 1 minute.
Next trick will be graduate students taking undergraduate courses.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
That's fine. We got 1 minute. Anything
Yeah.
anyone want to close off?
All right.
You're going to get better. Dave's on special assignment. He'll be back. I don't know. Maybe a couple of...
Last thought from me is, if you think you've got COVID by any chance, get tested. Find
Yes.
out, because it's easily, if you get it in enough time, it's easily solved. My wife and I both had it. We got the Paxlovid, and in a matter of, well, actually 2.5 days I was over it. She had 5 days and she was over it. But it doesn't do anything for the flu. We both still had the flu when we started, and after it was over, we still had the flu.
And the cold and flu this year is horrible. Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it. All right. I want to...
Dave, just let us wish you
Godspeed, Dave.
smooth sailing and get well.
We'll see you soon. All right, I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's tri-co-producers, one's on assignment, Bob Pollock, Dave Biela, or me, Tony Hendricks, with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djb1@hotmail.com, or me at emailagm@yahoo.com. Or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only staff writer, Sarah Bell. Showing our program will be Sunday morning or Saturday morning at 10, and also Monday and Thursday at 7, and anytime Andy has times. You also may check us out at 99 Navigate Used and Views on YouTube. If you type in 99 Navigate Used and Views, you'll get our channel. I will try to up that as soon as I can. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and make it a good day.